Today is the day that I was most looking forward to, and that is putting the final frames in. The first thing I had to do was re-establish all the frame lines on the board. This took quite a bit of the morning, and that's all done, remounted. And before we even start, we see two glaring errors that will have to be rectified. To aft, the shift frame was put on the wrong side. I have no idea how I could have done something as stupid as that. But I did, and you can see the massive space here, which should have rang a bell. And unfortunately, the same thing on this side. This shift at the bottom should be on this side. So we will have to take those two frames out and remake. We've replaced C aft, and on the other side, 2 fore and 2 aft have been replaced, rebuilt, and so we can start this exercise now. Quite clearly, one of the problems we're going to have is lining these frames up, because just to get the board in is quite a challenge, and I'm not sure how many frames I'm going to be able to get in. So either I'll have to modify the square, or what I may do is resort to the side square. So both those are dead on, and then simply have a ruler that will line up the bottom of the frames. There's nothing really special about the installation of these, so we're just giving you the visual as we go through. Most of the technique has been covered in numerous videos before this. Still fun to watch it though. For you dithering idiots like me, just make sure that the shifted frame is shifted back and not forward so we don't have the same error again. I'm going to leave it to each individual to work out how in fact they square the frames, since the board simply can't get in. It really was a challenge. I think I found a way to make it work, but as you'll find out as we go along, I did lose some control and had some issues right in the end, squaring off the frames to make sure that everything lined up perfectly. 1B and 1A are now installed, and the sweep port space is 133. So that means the recess into 1A is about just a little over an inch, somewhere between an inch and a quarter, that we'll cut a recess in it. So I'm going to go ahead and install the rest of the frames and then come back and do the gun ports and the sweep ports after. Center has the location of the blocks. There's 16 blocks in total. They're also 6 inches deep, and it doesn't say how thick they are, but I'm going to assume they're still 3 inches thick, so I'm going to do the same. I'm putting them on the flat side of the frame. This is the part of the frame that was always flat on the building board, so that I get a good seat on the side. To figure out the thickness of this spacer, it's very important, and the way you do that is you line up all of the frames and you measure the distance between 1A and center A, and you're supposed to get the thickness of the gun port. The thickness of the gun port is 5833. I get 575, so when you put the thickness of the glue on, we will get to the 5833. So that means we can now go ahead and start to stick, because we have the correct spacer between 1A and center 1. I think it's only fair doing this video that we give a little prominence to the center frame, because it's never going to be another photo of this frame being installed. .586 instead of .583. It doesn't get much better than that. Well, I'm struggling at the end here, struggling to keep the frames parallel. I have 100 here, 0.988, so it's pretty close. I actually had to put a little filler in on this side to pull this side up a bit. So this spacer and this spacer are slightly different. Somehow this side got longer than this side. I'm not sure how. I thought I had it ready down pat. And I'm also struggling to put the cast frame on A aft. So what I've decided to do is put in a temporary frame, seal it up, and then come back, take this out, and I'll have the exact measurement for the depth of the cast. So the challenge continues right to the end of the frames. I'm quite sure that the space I see between B aft and B4, and I'm looking at the National Maritime Museum plan, and I see it's actually quite, it's wedge shaped, and that clearly is the adjustment between the front and the back where they meet. It's not written in a book, but I'm assuming that that's what it's there for. I'm sure Greg will confirm that in an email at some point in time. But we're nearly there, and we're fighting with it, and I'm trying my best to close it off tonight. Well, it's time to take the last two clamps out. So here we go. We're here taking the measurement at A aft, 0.320, and would you believe, I mean, this is uncanny. So here she is, in place, fits perfectly. So we just need to work out the trim so we can get that piece in. I'm not sure you can see it properly, but again we've marked out what has to come off. We've double checked, triple checked, and 100% sure we have it correct. And just double checking one last time on the model. There we have the last frame to be stuck on the model. We'll put a temporary piece in here for the sanding and cut out the sweep ports and the gun ports, and then she's done. So most of this has been covered in previous videos, so other than giving you a quick visual, we're not going to go through any detailed installation of the gun port sills and the sweep port stills. Much of the techniques remain the same, being very careful to get the line of the gun port frames and the sweep port frames. I don't need to tell you, I did make a few errors on the way, replaced one or two frames, and in some other cases was able to fill the pieces in. The spacers went in, and then we did a rough cleaning up, which helped actually in installing some of the frames. You'll also notice use of a headlight, which was really very useful, particularly in the night when things got a little dim. Now is the time to pin the individual frames to the keel. Greg had suggested that we do this way back, but we had put it off because we weren't sure exactly which frames we were going to pull out, and this would have just made the exercise that much more difficult. We also thought of pinning it one on the left, one on the right coming down, but then agreed that really just a line straight down the center would be fine. Part of the sanding challenge is to keep the model from, in a sense, breaking, particularly at the top. So we put all these external temporary ribs at the top to give it some level of stability. It still breaks from time to time, but that's the only way we could hold it together. So about every half an hour we have to stop and restick the frames. We have two breaks, one here, and one here. So that's just the nature of the sanding process. I'm now going to go back and fix all the little things that gave me trouble. Spend some time really genuinely cleaning the hull down some more. You'll remember in the first video I promised to show you all of the errors that I made, and I'm quite sure I haven't disappointed you. I still have some challenges in the process without me realizing it. The rising wood had separated from the keel, and I've put some CA to bring it back down, but I'm actually going to drill. I'm going to drill and put some bigger dowels, probably 4 dowels, really to tie it strongly back into the main frame section. I do feel a great sense of accomplishment that I've been able to achieve this. And I have to say, Greg and David, you really have produced a fantastic book. The level of detail was instrumental in me being able to reach this far at the skill levels that I have. And this really is a reflection of all the work you've done in the preparation of this practicum. Once the outside is totally completed, I plan to put buttons on the outside and then remove these temporary supports and finish the inside. And then we'll cut down, once that's done, we'll cut down and fair the top of the frames throughout the model. I hope you find this series of videos of some benefit to you, either as you build another ship using the same techniques, or that you build one of the swarm ships.